Mike, I'm fired up about our next guest, one of the all-time great wide receivers in Cincinnati Bengals history, a two-time All-Pro. Few people better to talk about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase's mega contracts this week than Carl Pickens joining us now. And you can follow him on Instagram, the Carl Pickens. Carl, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
We're doing great, and we're pumped up to have you here, especially now, especially this week after the first week of free agency. And the Bengals really making big news. Jamar Chase, the record-setting $161 million contract. He's the highest paid receiver ever. T. Higgins, the highest paid number 2 wide receiver ever at $115 million. And, you know, as someone who was a number 1 wide receiver in Cincinnati for a long time, what does it mean, in your opinion, for that franchise to commit that much money to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and keep them a part of the fold?
I think they're serious. I mean, that's the nucleus of the team. Offensively with Joe and Higgins and Chase, and they've got a good running back, and that's the nucleus right there. And that's where you have to start with that team. They can score a lot of points. Defense, they've got to pick it up a little bit. But as far as Joe and Higgins and Chase, I mean, in my opinion, you have to start there.
For sure. And Jamar Chase, now the highest paid receiver in the NFL. Do you think he's deserving of that title when you look around at some of the great receivers in the league? And what sets him apart from a lot of the other great pass catchers? Because, of course, you got the Justin Jeffersons, You got A.J. Brown in Philadelphia, fresh off a Super Bowl. You got George Pickens in Pittsburgh. You got all these elite wide receivers. What sets Jamar Chase apart?
Well, I think the Bengals think he's worth that type of money, or else they wouldn't have paid him. They believe in him. He's proven, that he can go out and put up the numbers consistently, which he has done, the previous few years. So they trust him. They know he's going to come to work every day, do what he needs to do, be a leader on the team. So, they gave him a lot of money, and then he has to hold up his end of the bargain, which I think he can. I think he's a smart player. I think he's a very aggressive route runner. He can make plays even though he's not open all the time. And he's a good fit with Joe. The chemistry they've had, they had it prior to the league. So it's almost a no-brainer. And then you bring in, T. Higgins, who's taking a lot of pressure off of Jamar as far as being double teamed and stuff like that. So each one of those guys can get their numbers. It's just it's a good time, to be a Bengal wide receiver now.
Yeah. You went through some contract negotiations with that team. I think you had some things that got extended, protracted a little bit in your career. What's that like? What's it like having that in the background as you're trying to go out there and do your job?
I think at the end of the day, you just have to put your trust in your agent, because looking back on it now, I didn't realize this at the time, and I don't think a lot of guys do. Eventually, they will sign you. The Browns, Mike and those guys, eventually they will sign you. You just keep doing your job, keep coming to work every day, and show that, you're one of the leaders on the team, and they will sign you. Most of the time, they always do. And this is, obvious here with these 3 guys. It just takes a while. Sometimes it's a different process than, other general managers and team owners. But I think at the end of the day, most of the time they sign their guys.
I like the way you said it. Most of the time they always do. I like the way you said that. You hedge your bets a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a process, and frustration begins to play a part in it. And then some guys may want to leave. Some guys may not have the patience to wait and hold out and, hope for a better deal, or some guys are frustrated with getting the tag multiple years. So I think at the end of the day, you have to have a good agent that has a rapport with the Browns, and they can go in there and communicate and talk and, get things done. But now in today's, game, the number is pretty much set. You mentioned Justin Jefferson and some other guys, CeeDee Lamb, they put the number up as far as, $30 million a year, 35. So you got to have a guy that says, hey, if you think I'm, on the same level as these guys, then I need to be paid that way. So it's a give and take, but it's always strenuous with the Browns, with the Bengals, but they'll get it done.
Carl, when you look at T. Higgins, he's now the highest paid number 2 receiver in the league. There was some thought going into this offseason, after they used the franchise tag on him for a second time, that he was a guy that could be a number 1 wide receiver elsewhere. Do you agree with that? And also, what do you think makes his chemistry with Joe Burrow so strong? Because even though Jamar Chase and Burrow go back together to LSU, Joe Burrow talks all the time about how valuable T. Higgins is and how much he wanted to keep him. What do you think makes their chemistry, in particular, T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, so strong right now?
I think with those two guys that, again, like I said earlier, they can depend on each other. I mean, T. Higgins does a lot of things to get, Jamar Chase open, and vice versa. Jamar does a lot of things to get T. Higgins open. Both of these guys can make plays. Both of these guys are capable of being number ones on another team, and that may be one of the reasons why, the Bengals didn't want to let him go. They have that chemistry. If you have two great receivers, you can't double team. You can't shade your coverage to one or the other. So that being said, Joe has options. Hey, if Jamar is not where he needs to be, T. Higgins will be, and vice versa. So those guys play off of one another. And I think the main thing is they actually enjoy playing with each other. They get along. They're friends off the field as well. So, I don't know if they're going down to Orlando during the summer to run routes and stuff like that, but they genuinely enjoy playing with each other.
Now that they're both locked in for the long haul and they're going to be in Cincinnati and they're the core after a couple of years of, acrimony and hand-wringing about whether they'd actually get this done.
Yeah.
They're there for the next, 3-4 years, maybe even longer than that. How do you see Joe Burrow's connection with them continuing to evolve even from where it is from here? Because I look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow to me is one of the top 2-3 quarterbacks in the league. And now you have that continued chemistry. Yeah. How much better can he and that offense get?
They can go as far as they want to go, but at the same time, defenses are going to change. New players are going to come in and out of the team, and the chemistry may be a little bit different. So your role may be different this year versus what it was last year. But at the end of the day, these guys are under contract for the next 4 or 5 years, so that core will be there. If they can continue to stay together and make plays, some good things will happen. Again, they're going to have to score a lot of points, which they're capable of doing. Even in the games they lost, they scored a ton of points. So, defenses will change. These coordinators will figure out a way to slow one of them down. They may not slow both of them down, but they'll figure out a way to slow them down. But as long as those 3 guys are on the same page, I think the Bengals can score a lot of points.
You were on teams that scored a lot of points. It seems like history repeats itself for the Bengals. You guys, phenomenal seasons. The defense didn't always hold up its end of the bargain. Does it look that way to you? Why do you think that is?
They have a good defense. At times, other teams just make plays. I mean, and at times, you may be out of position a little bit, but, offenses on the opposing teams want to score too, so sometimes it's a give and take. You're out there to make plays, and sometimes the guy on the other side just beats you individually for that play, and things happen.
By the way, I noticed you still hold the record, or tied for the record for most touchdowns in Bengals history. Jamar Chase tied it.
Yeah.
What was it like following his journey last year as he was coming closer and closer to that record?
I saw that, and if he does, fine. If he doesn't break it, I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But I can hold on to something a little bit longer. But I don't think it's going to be there after this upcoming season. I mean, These guys, they're just phenomenal. I mean, they have no problems making plays. And they're good at it, and they want it. They're very aggressive, and they enjoy playing. So, this may be the year.
And can this be the year for the Bengals, Carl? Because obviously it was the slow start that tripped them up last year. They did everything they could over the last month of the season, except they couldn't control that. The Chiefs had absolutely nothing to play for in Week 18 and decided to play the practice squad backups in Denver in the last game of the year. But with Chase back and Higgins back and some of the additions, have they done enough to compete with the Ravens and the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC?
I don't know. That'll be a good question after the draft. But I think at this particular point in time, these guys are hungry. Chase's contract was hanging over his head. Higgins' contract was over his head last year. So that's in the past. These guys are here. Get into training camp, focusing on the Super Bowl. I mean, we were there, 3 years ago? We've got some really good players now. Some seem to think, Kansas City can be beaten now. I don't know. They were exposed a little bit in the Super Bowl. But Baltimore is still going to be around. So there's some teams that Cincinnati is going to have to really compete with. But I think at the end of the day, it's Super Bowl or bust, man. I don't want to put that much pressure on them, but I'm sure they're thinking, okay, we've got our guys in place. We know what we need to do. We know the task at hand. And the only thing we've got to do now is just go out and play like we know how to play, cut down on the mistakes, and see what happens.
And the money does bring a little pressure with it, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know if it brings pressure. I mean, if you gave me $40 million a year or $35 million a year, yeah, I'm still going to want to make plays. Honestly,
right.
Yeah, I'm still going to want to make plays, but I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, sometimes, not all the time, but it takes the hunger away from some guys. Honestly, it does. You're not that really. You're motivated, but what do I have to lose? I've got $40 million in the bank. So I think at the end of the day, the guys still have to go out and live up to their end of the contract.
They don't seem like that kind of guy, where it's like the hunger is going to escape them.
No, they want to play. I mean, they know what's within their grasp. Yeah. They got a taste of the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They know what it feels like to get there. They know what it feels like to win that playoff game, to get there. Mm-hmm. They want that. I mean, how can you not? You were this close. You want to go back, and whatever sacrifices you have to make to get to that level, to get to that championship game, you have to do it.
Carl, I want to switch gears here real quick, and it's the last one from me. I love asking guys who played this game at the highest level as you did, with the Pro Bowl trips and the All-Pro recognitions. If you were playing today, if you hopped in the time machine and you were in your prime and you're lacing them up on a Sunday, who's the cornerback across the league that you're hoping you're lined up against? Who's the measuring stick corner in today's game that you think just stands above the rest, that you would love to go out there and have a game against to show that, hey, you know what? I'm still Carl Pickens. I'm still a playmaker. I'm still the man.
Yeah. I think there's Jalen Ramsey. He's tall. He's physical. He can run. I would, try my luck against him. I don't know that I would be able to outrun him, but I would welcome the challenge to play and see what happens. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good corners out there, but I just think of Jalen because he's tall, and I'm 6'2", 6'3", and he's in that area, and you rarely get. He covers DK Metcalf sometimes. They're both tall, but I just like the matchup between two tall guys. So I would relish that matchup.
You would be some jump balls in the end zone between the.
Yeah, if it came down to a jump ball, I know I could win that matchup. I mean, I jumped 7'1" in high school. I was a high jumper, so and I don't know how high he can jump, but I just feel like I could win that matchup. As far as speed and stuff like that, yeah, he could cover me, but I made plays even though I was covered a lot, so wouldn't be a problem, I guess.
I'm just enjoying. This is my last question. I'm enjoying the jerseys in the background. Behind you, the classic Bengals jerseys behind your head. Folks can't necessarily see it.
Yeah.
Which one means the most for me? I see the Tennessee jersey, the Pro Bowl jersey. Which one means the most to you?
Well, the Bengals, they gave me a shot, man. They called me in '92 and said, "Hey, we think you can, play for us. We want you to become a Bengal." So I did that, and that means the most. The other accomplishment accomplishments. I didn't set out to go to the Pro Bowl. It just happened, I just kept my head down, made plays, and did what I needed to do. But, that was my first professional jersey right there, the Bengal jersey, and hats off to them for giving me an opportunity to play.
I love it. And what a flex with the Pro Bowl jersey over one shoulder and the Bengals jersey over the other. Carl, this is tremendous. Really enjoyed the conversation. Really enjoyed the insight. People be sure to follow him on Instagram at the Carl Pickens. He's Bengals legend, all pro, former wide receiver Carl Pickens. Appreciate the time. Look forward to talking to you further up the road.
All right, guys. Anytime. You know how to reach me. I appreciate it.